company, what was it called? 88
M88
or something.
88M.
Who were actually looking to redevelop the site and put a new community facility there. Is that not the intention?
Yes, that is that. The redevelop Bellevue and the Super Bowl next to it.
Yeah, I think maybe change the site a bit.
Yeah,
I don't
jiggle
know.
things around a touch.
Yeah.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
I had friends round on Thursday night, and it was our mutual friend Steve and his wife. And Steve obviously doesn't watch a lot of rugby league. He gets the sport. He watches a bit because he's friends with like us and Smithy, who's been on the podcast before, and people like that.
Yeah.
But he looked at the TV and goes, "What's that stand all about? That's just porta cabins with balconies."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah,
that's about it, mate."
Well.
It's hard to explain, isn't it? Sometimes it takes somebody from outside to go, "What are you playing at there?"
But Bellevue did have like two stands that ran along the sides in years and years and years gone by and stuff. And I want Wakefield to stay there, but to improve it if they at all can make those two things work.
You would hope so, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. Chris
Macy at Medway Bronco. He says, "Great podcast again as usual, lads. A good way to clear a few hours up and just de-stress a bit. Okay. I certainly hope that Sky listened to Mark." I don't think Sky. Well, Barry.
Part of Sky.
Yeah, Barry could be listening. And stop banging on. Oh, sorry, Chris. Barry has cheated on us.
What do you mean?
He's cheated on us, Tom, last week.
Go ahead.
He told us he was going to come on and we'll hook it up and all that, and we've been retweeting out about his charity event and all that. And
which we'll probably continue to do, but go on.
All that, giving him the big up because we like Barry. And then he goes and jumps in the backseat of Rod Studd's car and has a bit of a cameo on their podcast.
Well, they're all pals, man. It doesn't mean that he won't come on. It doesn't mean he won't come on our little living room adventure. Here's what we need to do now, and I thought that this is what we were setting up anyway, and you perhaps should have made this a bit clearer. We invite Barry round. We all go out and have I don't know if he drinks, I don't know if he's teetotal or what, but we can have a bite to eat.
We don't want to take Barry drinking in Blackpool. We don't want to get the pepper spray out again.
Well, no, we'll go to Lytham. Don't bring stuff like that. We'll never get him round.
He put it in his own book.
Yes, it's there for us all to see. So, maybe he has cheated on us a touch, but I'm not inclined to think that. To be fair, he must have been fairly desperate if he had to jump in the back of Rod Studd's car, so he probably just had to do whatever it took to get home. I would have said. You're looking at pictures of babies. Have we got a name for this child?
Lucy Ruth.
Lucy Ruth.
Right, I'll go back to Chris Macy while she reads the lovely message we got from the Hugheses.
I shall, thank you.
Okay, so he says, and listen to Mark, and stop banging on about ref performances and change the narrative a bit. Also, I'd love to see awful play the balls clamped down on. It's a small thing, but I find it quite annoying when you see some horrendous ones. Also, in hindsight, being so OTT about... Oh, this is... him now. I suppose I should have put a line break in here. Also, in hindsight, being so OTT about Jamie Peacock's second coming was probably more of a knee jerk. Was hardly going to single-handedly run us around the park, but I reckon he must have given the Robins a much-needed morale boost. I'd also like to mention the London Chargers, who have made... This was pre-weekend, who have made it to the Conference South Grand Final in the first season there after dominating the London and South East Premier League for the last few years. Something I'd love to see my local Medway Dragons do in due course, so best of luck to them. Fantastic. And spoiler alert, but the Chargers won.
Yes.
So well done to them.
Indeed.
Cutthroat Jake, John says, after holidays I finally managed to catch up on Super League pod. Loved the episode. Nothing like a masturbate between friends.
Oh dear, you're better than that, John.
It occurred to me, awful puns aside, well, awful puns more to the fore, if anything, that we should have called last week's episode Disagree to Agree.
Yeah, that was pretty much what it was, wasn't it?
I can't remember what we came up with in the end.
What did we call last week's episode? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It tends to be like the last thing we decide on a Monday night when we're both just hanging. So I'll be able to tell you in a second. But yeah, no, I listened back to last week's it's the first time I've listened back in a while.
How did we do?
It's all right, but it does become very clear that we're both kind of sort of feel the same way about what's going on at Hemel, and are talking passionately about it. But neither of us is arguing for it, so it just ends up being like, yeah, add another thing. So and then by the end of it, we just go, what are we doing? And then we move on. So that was about it, really.
So, John goes on to say, and Mark, Radiohead are good, but are a poor man's Pink Floyd. I don't know. I would say a younger man's Pink Floyd. I don't think that you could qualify the best band ever as a poor man's Pink Floyd. But Pink Floyd are fantastic, and have their space in my record collection too.
There you go.
Not Radiohead though. It struck me that I should have put a Radiohead song on the back of last week's show, but I was so
but what we don't want to do
by
is
the Steelers.
Yeah, what we'd like to do ultimately is encourage people to keep listening rather than just upset people to the point of not being able to leave the house.
That they've spent their lives listening to less good quality music if they've not already been massive Radiohead fans. I don't know how I would upset someone.
What's happened to your arm?
Yeah.
Sorry, I know it's not great for a podcast, but I can't stop looking at it and I need to know what's going on because you've got a big red lump on your arm.
Yeah, I got bit, I think, when I was walking.
Ooh.
Oh, I'll tell you what happened as well when I was walking. We ran into, I think his name's Stephen. He used to sit next to us, but then he started bringing his son, so I think he moved because I swear too much.
At Wigan?
At Wigan.
Right, I was going to say, when have we done something that's involved a guy called Stephen sitting next to us?
But he's an occasional podcast listener as well, is Stephen. And
cool. Where did you run into him?
In Silverdale. Me and Emma were walking out of one lane, and him and his son and his missus and the dog were walking out of another lane, sort of meeting at a triangle sort of thing, either side of this churchyard, basically.
Right.
And I sort of looked over and thought, he looks a bit like a guy who used to sit next to me. Then thought, wait, double talk, and then on my triple take, he was doing his double take, I think. And we were both like, oh, all right. And his missus was like, oh, for God's sake, someone everywhere, whilst Emma was pretty much in stereo. For God's sake, who's this? But that was nice, yeah.
Cool.
I've not seen him so much this year.
You know, when we say to ourselves, how the hell has this episode got so long this week?
Anyway, I got
What's wrong with your arm?
I got bit by a horse.
I've met in Silverdale might be part of that.
I got bit by a horsefly, I think, or something like that, and it was yesterday.
It was yesterday?
Didn't have any antihistamines or anything, and I didn't really notice it this morning. And then at work, I think I just itched it a bit, and then it flared up a bit. And then my boss told me I have to draw a circle around where it was red. So I drew this circle after to see if it grows and gets worse, and to see if I need to go to the doctors or not.
Okay. She's mucking about with you then.
She said she saw it on Casualty.
Oh, well then.
So I did that, and then I noticed that the redness had got so big because Emma had put a plaster over it, and actually now it's just red because there was pen there that I've rubbed off a bit. But yeah, it's not great, but we'll soldier on. Okay.
Well, let me know if things become too much to bear.
Moving on to the Hemel section of the feedback, really, after we sort of talked about the mass debate. Al Witts got in touch. He said, great debate on the Hemel Stags. Simple, effective, to the point. Ollie Smith got in touch. He said, really enjoying this week's pod, lads. Great to hear your thoughts on the recent news on League One. Couple of thoughts from me. I fully agree with you, Mark, on improving the player pool down south for other clubs, and I fully agree with you, Mark, on that's in twice. However, having seen them several times this year, I would say only one or two players would get in any other side in League One from Hemel. Still, I think it's bad for RLDS. Unfortunately, I can only see it lasting next season, then Hemel folding at the League One level. I hope the players don't move to Union, but instead improve their amateur level next year.
We've got to wish them good luck.
Aaron Smith on the same theme. He said, hi Mark and Tom, as you mentioned on your podcast, it's shocking news about the Hemel Stags, Dan Sargent's junior club, selling out to Dewsbury. The Hemel fans are starting a petition to present to the RFL, so they realise the frustrations of those involved with the game down south. Just as the sport is starting to grow in the capital with firm foundations being laid, one of the pillars has been kicked away.
There you go.
Yeah, so we were hoping to be joined by Ernie Howell of who's associated with the Real Hemel Stags group that have set up this petition.
Yeah.
Circumstances have worked against us, and we wish Ernie all the best anyway, and we'll get him on in future weeks if we can to sort of keep us informed on the situation. But Ernie's let us know that, and this is no secret because it's a part of the petition and all of that's come out, is basically the feeling is from people who've been involved in the club for decades, been part of pushing the club towards having a semi-professional entity as to go alongside the amateur entity, feel that there's certain forces within the club, 2 or 3 voices that have become too dominant of how the club operates and not sharing their vision with the wider stakeholders of the Hemel Stags. So that's kind of what where their issue mainly falls on this, and I think some of that has had a negative impact between the relationship between the professional and amateur club, as we've seen with a couple of players maybe that have been involved from the very start, retiring now because they can't do the travel. There was the young player who left the club as well, who's gone to the All Golds. Yeah. Although the Stags say that that was always intended anyway. He wanted to continue his studies and play for the Student Rugby League, and Gloucestershire All Golds obviously have a link with the university down there, and all that ties up, which Hemel couldn't offer. But I'm sure 170 mile round trip when you're 3 times a week when you're doing a masters won't be.
Fit that in easy.
So hopefully we'll get Ernie on down the line.
Well, this story's going to rumble on, isn't it? So I'm certain that there'll be another twist, and at that point we'll be able to get Ernie on and have a proper conversation and let him put his side of things, probably in a more passionate and better informed way than we can on his behalf.
What we hope is all the sides can come together and work back together, because obviously it's been a great community club, and you don't want to see that community broken down.
No, absolutely not. Okay, that's your feedback and shout-outs taken care of. Let's take a look now at news from around the world of rugby league. Okay, so to this week's news then, and we'll start in the south of France, where Catalan Dragons loose forward Gregory Muniz has confirmed that he will retire at the end of the 2016 season. The 31-year-old has made 253 Super League appearances for the club, which is a record for the Catalan Dragons, and scored 27 tries and 146 points in the process. Catalan Dragons head coach Laurent Fresneau paid tribute to the former French international, who played in the Dragons' first Super League game against Wigan back in 2006. It's an honour to have played with Greg and then to have coached him. He said he has always embodied the values of our club. Catalan chairman Bernard Gauch hailed the career of a player who he feels typifies the spirit of the Dragons. Greg will remain among the iconic players of the Catalan Dragons. He said his body is exhausted by 11 Super League seasons, and his decision to hang up his boots is courageous. The entire club wish him all the best in the future, and we thank him for his invaluable contribution to the Catalan Dragons. He has been an absolute stalwart for them, hasn't he?
I assumed he was older than 31. I can't believe he's the same age as me.
I know.
He's had a tougher paper round than I've had.
Just a touch. Although you're an old 31. I'll give you that. You are. You look older than 31.
Do I?
Yeah.
Gregory Muniz looks much older than 31.
Yes, I know, but,
Huh.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm not saying 50... but feasibly 36.
Seriously?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
I could give you. Well, it's I don't know. Bit around your eyes, bit wrinkly there, and going back. This looks like it's old news to you. I'm not trying to upset you. You just look older than 31.
I didn't think I did.
Okay, well, let's split the difference and say you look about my age. Then you look about 34, and I can feasibly get away with telling people I'm 40 and no one bats an eyelid.
Yeah.
So, especially when I don't shave my head.
I think if anything, it looks a bit worse when it's a bit grown in like that.
It looks horrible, doesn't it?
Look older like that.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I forgot to buy razor blades. So I need to go and get some because I'm getting a bit Michael Bolton now. Okay, so apart from upsetting you, Gregory Muniz had a great career.
Yeah, it's certainly had a long, and it's always put in full effort, and he's done whatever job's been asked for him really, and you got to respect that, and I think the club respect that, obviously.
Yep, sticking with the Catalan Dragons then, the Dragons have released former Australia international forward Glenn Stewart just 1 year into his 3-year contract for family reasons. So, I don't know, Greg, you would just assume that he's struggled to settle in Perpignan with his young
family are believed to be enticed by by a good offer from Lee Centurion.
Is that right?
or a number of other Super League clubs with English bases.
Perhaps that would be easier for a man with a young family as well.
Maybe language barrier wise.
Possibly so.
There was issues there.
Possibly so. Remaining again with the Catalan Dragons.
Carl Rendergast.
Oh, sorry, he did.
This is a shame, as he's been really good for Catalans this season, and he has been really good.